What is up? And we are back with another video. So it has been a hot minute since I've recorded a YouTube video. Just a lot of life changes and a lot of life updates, which actually, I mean, not a ton when I really think about it, but it just feels like a lot has been going on in terms of like getting back in the city, adjusting to life. I think my last vlog, which is of Vietnam, that has been exactly like a month since then, which honestly it felt like way more time has passed in between because so many things have just happened in terms of just getting back in the city, getting adjusted, onboarding new clients, and just really acclimating back to the city. And then obviously I'm meeting more people now and having a lot more social events. The weather's warmer, and so a lot of stuff to do. So it just felt like it's been a lot for this past month. And then of course, as you can see, I am in my new place, which I'll give you a quick tour in a little bit. But basically from the last month when I've got back and the end of April and then until now, it was just basically getting readjusted. And then my landlord decided to raise rent on me last minute. And by last minute, he didn't give me a 30 days notice. He told me basically like almost mid-May, he's like, hey, by the way, rent's going up next month, which I like that. I could like, if I was like, pushed against the wall, I totally could have paid it. But at the same time, like this is just bad business practice. And the fact that he wouldn't budge, he wouldn't be accommodating. He's like, hey, how about like I meet you halfway until like half the increase for next month, and then we'll just bump up by like $200, which I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but the amount I was paying was like 1,800, and it would be like an over two or not two over 10% increase, and that just like did not sit well with me. Like that's such a huge increase, and to do it, with very little notice, that just does not sit well with me. Because as someone who runs my own business, I deliver the most to my clients, and I like if I were to do something to my clients, I always put myself in the shoes of like how would I feel if someone did something like this to me. And the fact that like he just gave me very short notice and then he increased by the amount that he did, that just like did not sit well with me. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start looking for a new place. And then it just so happens that my friend's friend is moving out of her apartment here out in Sunnyside, and it's a massive 1 bedroom, which I'll show you. So we can go ahead and go with the tour. So basically we have here, this is just walking in, this is the main entrance, this is the main hallway, nice little closet space over there. And then now we got the kitchen here. Kitchen is not that big, and honestly I made it a little bit smaller by putting on that table, but I felt like I just needed the counter space, so there's a trade-off for that, which I'm fine with. It's a stove, the oven, cabinets, some storage space. There's a sink, obviously, as if you've never seen a sink before. And then really the main thing that I was really looking forward to was the big living space. Like you can see how big this is. The living room, dude. Like this is freaking massive. I don't know square footage off the top of my head. I have no idea about square footage, but if I were to guess, this is what, like 8 or 9 by 9. So like, what was that? Quick maths. What was that? 60 to 80 square footage, if I'm doing that math correctly. So yeah, got my couch over that I just picked up, and then a nice little picture of the downtown Manhattan, which was left by the previous tenant. I can set up my little home office right there. And then this is the hallway to the bedroom. And this is the bathroom. It's got a toilet, pretty standard stuff. And then this is the bedroom. Basically where all the magic happens. So I'm gonna try to get, my tripod does not go far enough, unfortunately. But yeah, this here is kind of like a, I don't know if it's I don't think it's zooming out wide, but there's like a wide view of the bedroom there. So I'm gonna set you off in this little empty corner that I have. And yeah, so this is the bedroom space where all the magic happens, where the sausage is made. I don't know what sausage I'm making in the bedroom, but, and by magic, I mean content. So get your mind out of the gutter. So that's the bedroom. And then, yeah, it's pretty cool. So this is the little view you can see. You can see Manhattan over there. If you zoom in enough, that's a nice little view of the World Trade Center. But yeah, dude, overall, I think this was a good move. I think so. I'm gonna sit down here and then chat a little bit more. So yeah, dude, overall, so I think pros for sure. Pros, like right off the bat, I'm paying basically around the same price. The rent here is 1,800, and 1,800, especially less than 2K for a whole ass place to yourself in New York, is very, very rare nowadays because rent is just crazy. I'm sure you heard about the crazy rent in New York, but the fact that I'm paying that much per month for my own place, and then it's also rent stabilized, which means that legally they cannot raise your rent after a certain percentage. I don't remember what it is, but I think it's not that bad. It's like somewhere between like 2 to 4% per year. So every time you renew a lease, they can only raise it so much. So that's a nice little pro there. Another pro is that the space is huge. Obviously, like this in New York is considered very, very big just because of how dense the city is, and so everything's just kind of built to a smaller scale. And I know that some of you watching might be like, "Oh, I can get this place in Texas for like $5." I'm like, okay, dude, but that's Texas. This is New York, which I honestly love the vibe here. I love New York for all the things that make New York New York. But and then that's just the price I have to pay. I'll just leave it at that. I can't think of anything else to say. But yeah, that's a pro. And then yeah, especially like just having my own space is huge because I actually had my own space back in Portland, and then I moved here initially, and then I was in a roommate situation, which was okay. It wasn't like terrible. I will say like I will miss living in Manhattan. That's like a con. Obviously, I have to commute into Manhattan, especially most of my actually not most all of my in-person clients are in Manhattan. So it'll probably add like an extra 15-minute commute into wherever I have to go to my clients, but honestly that's not bad, and especially if you got to weigh out the trade-offs. Like I've met with a lot of brokers and realtors at this point, just browsing apartments and stuff. And the biggest thing that they say is like, no apartment is going to be perfect unless you're paying up the ass, right? If you're like paying 5 to 10K per month for rent, it's like, okay, now you can sort of get everything that you want, right? Because you're forking over that much cash. But if you want to stay within a reasonable budget, if you're not some trust fund kid or some, high 7-figure earner out here in New York, then you have to there are going to be gives and takes, right? And a lot of those gives and takes are like, do you want to live with roommates or do you want to live alone? How big of space do you want? What kind of amenities do you want? Do you want like a walk up? Do you want an elevator in your building? Do you want laundry in your building? Which is crazy to say because everywhere else it's standard. But in New York, you have to choose. And so that brings me like one of the cons here is like there's no laundry in building or in unit. And so but luckily there is a laundromat like down the block, like half a block down. But one thing that I am in the process of doing is getting one of those portable washer machines where I can just do the wash here, and then I'll pick up like a rolling cart somewhere, and then I'll like roll it down to the laundromat and just dry it there, because I remember going down and checked, and like washing is crazy expensive and then drying is like not too bad. So I figured I'd just do that and save a little bit extra money there. And cons on that, yeah, there's just longer commute, less amenities. And then back to I know I'm all out of order, but back to the pro, like definitely a huge pro is that it's very quiet. You can hear like you haven't heard any sort of beeping or honking or ambulances or sirens or anything going off, and because we're out in Manhattan, versus where even if I tried to even like record anything, you're always going to be some sort of like honking and beeping. And I know this is technically the weekend, but still like on weekends it's you still hear from time to time in Manhattan. So yeah, but overall I think that's pretty much it off the top of my head, the like pros and cons about living here. And yeah, the more I'm thinking like pro, yeah, for sure a pro that at the old place was that it was month to month. It was super chill. I just paid one flat fee and included all utilities. Over here, it's kind of broken down to separate things, which if I were to calculate it out, I'd probably be paying like slightly more, maybe like 1 to 200 more per month. I mean, obviously all that depends on my usage of utilities and everything, but if I were to do the math, it'd probably just be like an extra 1 or 200 bucks. But I figured that like that trade-off of getting to live by myself and getting my own space and just having that separate space, both physically and both mentally. And I'm sure you know this, that like living with other people and then also living by yourself, it's a huge difference because you just get so much more mental space for yourself to, and for me, like having some mental space to like really create and not have to deal with other people, not have to work around other people's schedules and all that, not have to share a bathroom, not have to share a living space. And so that's like huge because, you know, obviously I can go to the bathroom whenever I want, I can cook whenever I want, I can make a bunch of noise and like no one really cares or complains. And I can really, and it's not like I had a terrible relationship with our roommates, but it's also at the same time like you always have this sense of like, I need to kind of tone it down a little bit. I need to be aware that there are other people. I can't truly be like free flowing. I can't walk around in my underwear, right? I can't like do this. I can't do that. I can't like record videos at like midnight because I just had a sudden whim because I want to create content. It's just like like little things like that where I think the trade-off is worth it, and especially I'll just be in a much more better mind space to create content and just have that space for myself as well to like just kind of be separate and away from those things. But yeah, that's that. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Quick little tour. Hope you enjoyed the tour. I mean, it was super quick. I didn't make it like MTV Crib style, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And pretty much a life update. I'm gonna try to get back to these. Hold me accountable. I'm gonna try to get back to these weekly YouTube vlog uploads, but I can't promise anything. I want to promise, but I can't promise anything. But hopefully, I definitely do want to get back into the groove of things, but it's just too much with like trying to create short form and then also long form, and I'm just complaining and making excuses, I know, but yeah, I'm gonna do my very best to get back into these, and especially because I have my own space now, I feel like I'll much better be able to compartmentalize in my head creating content and all that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in and sticking along for the journey. If you are new here, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Both of you guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And we'll be back on the weekly vlog uploads. Keep me accountable to that. That's all right. That's it. Peace out. Catch you in the next one.